live from the outskirts of the mountains of Oak Cliff. We got ourselves the mayor of Oak Cliff, the man who got half shares of the Dallas Mavericks and 5% share of the the Texans. What? And also, he got a share pretty much in the Stars as well. Presenting Michael Beltran. What is going on, my guy?
What? None of that is true.
What are you talking about, man? Like you got the infamous black card. I mean, man, I would know because you should remember the game that you have taken me to. I mean, I got some really good seats. So therefore, not only that, it's like not only that, the man got merch for days, man. So, like I said, man, I wish I was him, but I can't be. But there's only one Michael B. But hey, man, I appreciate you being on this episode, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing good. You know what? I appreciate you and your time and everything. But I mean, I will say, as far as where our seats were for that Mavericks game, I mean, we were about maybe 3 bolts away from, sharing a popcorn with one of the, angels of God. That's how high up we were. So, I mean, sure, we were in the building, but we were pretty high up.
Yeah. We were high up, all right. We were high up. We were high up in status. That's what we would say. So,
oh my god.
Oh man. But no, on the real, thank you for being a part of this episode, man. Like you were getting your story. I was like, I was really interested, like to know, pretty much like how you really got into it. Besides, you being a fantastic DJ as it is, but you have a mean old god, and we played like a good amount of times together, so you got a little epic rivalry going on and everything, so it's pretty awesome. But I really needed to know how this all started. So let's get into it. So let's talk about it. So the journey of Mike Beltran, like, take me back. Where did you started, like, gaming, pretty much?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I definitely appreciate the kind words about the OGOT. There's still a lot of work left to be done there, but I would say, you could say there is a little classic rivalry, because I remember essentially the first time facing you at Spring Series a few years back at Free Play, and that I must say that that match still stands out as a pretty close. I mean, you obviously took it, but boy howdy, was that a roller coaster ride right there.
It really was. Like, honestly, it really I really felt like I should have lost that game. I am not gonna lie. I really felt like I should have lost, but somehow I won that. And unofficially, I just like, okay, I got it, and even though I won, I was happy, but I'm like, damn, man, I kind of pulled a rabbit out of my ass with that one. So,
I mean, it came down to experience, and I didn't have that much experience at that point in time. That was just a lot of luck on my side to even make it as long as I did in that batch. But nevertheless, the origins, right? The history, if you will. Well, obviously, we'll just say I'm in my 40s, right? So, I grew up with.
Hold on. You in your 40s? Didn't you say like before you were like in your low 30s? What's going on all of a sudden?
That's when we first met. Yes. Now I've escalated into the 40s. So yes, just to show you how long we've known each other.
Oh my God! Wow. Man, where did the time go? Oh my God.
Man, I'm telling you, time's going for sure. But
it really is. Man.
But speaking of the times, I tell you what, I remember the times when I was a pretty young lad in the '80s, growing up with the your classic Nintendo and Atari. Those are the systems I had as a young lad. The Atari actually was given to me by my older cousin at that time. He didn't want it anymore, and he's like, "Here, take this." I'm like, "Ooh, cool, thanks." And of course, playing Pac-Man on the Atari 2600, thinking everything's all right in the world at 8 years old or however old I was at the time, and then of course NES. You had to save up money for that bad boy right there, and eventually I got my hands on it, but it definitely took a couple of summers and a few yards being cut in order for me to land that bad boy. But it started there with your Marios and your Tetris and all that fun stuff.
Interesting. So so tell me, aside from the Atari and the Marios, what was your favorite game during that time?
Favorite game during that time, and it still is one of my favorite games to this day. It was in the arcade, Pac-Land.
Pac-Land, good choice. Good choice.
Hell
That game is pretty dope. It really is dope. It really is. So, okay, started off with the Atari. And you pretty much got to the Marios and everything like that. So pretty much now, let's go a little further, right? Pretty much like PS1, PS2, Dreamcast, Xbox. What was the next console after that time you got your hands on?
Yeah, so it basically was the natural progression. The next console was the SNES, and lo and behold, right when that bad boy came out, so did a game that we might be familiar with, but that will be Street Fighter II World Warrior.
Oh yeah, very the 8 original World Warriors in that game. So
yeah.
So tell me, was the influence of World Warrior one of the big reasons why you got into pretty much fighting games in a way?
Absolutely. I mean, that arcades at that point, right? They were still going strong for the most part, but I didn't really see a decline at that point of them not being as popular as they were like earlier in the 80s, right? It was still the place to hang out and to be seen and that type of stuff. But, there was definitely something about Street Fighter II World Warrior when it first dropped. And man, just people lined up everywhere to basically beat up the person you're next to. You know what I mean? In a game, you were no longer going for the high score in Pac-Man of the day, or high score in Donkey Kong or something like that for the day. No.
Yeah.
You were essentially fighting for your quarter to remain the active player, so to speak, until you finally lost. And man, I mean, you talk about just quarters being inserted all day and every day. Next quarter up, placed right there on the top of the control panel, signifying who's next. And there you go, man. You just sat back and watched the fun happen. And I mean, let me tell you, that was quite the scene. And I was hooked. In. I'm like, man, this is the game right here, and you're trying to learn how to throw a fireball. You're trying to learn how to do a dragon punch for the first time. All these things, and I mean, just in its infancy, and like no one at that time really, knew how to do it well, right?
Right.
Not only that, I'll give you this, right? So, a lot of people played at malls, or your corner gas stations had it or whatever. there was one spot that out of all the places that had Street Fighter 2 at that time, where I kind of secretly learned to train or practice, so to speak. It was at a Taco Cabana restaurant, which is basically, think of it as there's still a few around here in the South, right? But think of it as like your Taco Bell, but with just a little bit more as far as food offerings. And there you go. That's your Taco Cabana. And out of all places, this had one arcade machine in it, and it just happened to be Street Fighter 2 World Warrior. And during the day, I would go by there and just play the computer by myself with no one interfering, so I could actually have time to practice, moves and things like that, and then take it to the mall and see how well I do.
Well, it's funny, I carry the same sentiment. I think the very first time that I saw an arcade machine in an area, right, it's when years ago, this is going back to like 90, maybe like 96, 97, and me and my mom and my little brother was gonna go, we were at a Macy's, by the way, okay. And we had to force ourselves to take this family picture. And Mom, if you're hearing this, I did not hate it, but it was one of those times where I didn't want to go, but then I saw the cab, and then that cab had actually it had CE in it, and I was kind of infatuated by it. And I was like, man, this is great, this is amazing, and everything like that. So during that time, the cab was there. Macy's was also selling consoles as well too. So basically, I remember one of the stores, I believe it was like, they had like a section that had the store, they were selling the consoles. They had like the Sega Genesis there, had it on 2-player mode for Sonic 2. And basically they were like, yeah, this console is up for like, I think it comes with Sonic 2 and Sonic 1, pretty much the bundle itself costs like $125, which is, I think it was pretty damn cheap at the time. But, during that time, it was pretty expensive. But it is interesting. Like, when you go to malls, you tend to see that a lot. Between malls, your local corner store, pizza shop. What am I missing? A store that would have a cab. Besides the occasional game store, pretty much. You had those places that has it. So that's pretty interesting, though. That's pretty interesting. So let's go a little further, right? The beginning of your journey in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Okay.
Tell me how that started.
Well, I tell you what. As far as where we are today, that officially started with, basically Free Play Arcade getting the game in, and then us newbies down here at the time, all start playing it. Right. During the heyday of the 90s of fighting games, things like that, in my area, or, really Dallas per se, I went to a lot of different arcades at the time, and none of them, even the more popular ones, never had Super Turbo. A lot of places had hyper fighting, right? Mm-hmm. There was only one arcade at the time, I would say like in 1994 when it first came out, one arcade down in Laredo, Texas, where I would go visit friends and whatnot. They had it in an arcade, and I remember seeing it the first time because one of my buddies called me and said, hey man, the arcade of the street got the new Street Fighter here, let's go check it out. And sure enough, we go and we walk in, and there it is right in the front as soon as you walk in. And the first thing I saw was someone playing as Akuma. And I freaked out. I was like, who is this guy? And he's throwing fireballs in the air, and everybody's, like losing their minds, just, everybody was just like into it, a big crowd and all that stuff. And the arcade operator at the time, he was given the code to get Akuma and all that stuff. And but unfortunately, that was the only time I saw it in an arcade and actually played it in an arcade. That was it. Fast forward a little bit into the late 90s, 2000s, when the Street Fighter collection started coming out for PlayStation 1 and things of that nature. I saw it then, and I would play it at home here and there. But, there wasn't a scene for it until fast forward years later, pre-play, right? They get it in, and we were, in our infancy as far as being a brand new arcade where everyone was hanging out and just playing all the games together. And sure enough, that game came in, and thus, for those who were fans of Street Fighter at some point in our lives up until that point, that's essentially how our little scene started and started growing from there.
I find it amazing. I did not know about free play until, who told me? I think Chris Delp told me. Shout outs to Chris Delp, by the way. And I remember, I remember because when the first time when Delp came to New York, right, and that's when he did the satellite tournament that winners were able to get to go to free play and everything like that. This was like I want to say like maybe around, was it 2017, 2018, right? That's when I kind of heard about it, right? And this was me before, like, I kind of took ST seriously at the moment. And I was like kind of thinking about it, and that's when I was like, okay, I met the New York scene at the time, and I heard about free play then. And then finally, fast forwarding to 2019, that was actually the very first time that I actually been at free play. And free play is everything that I thought it was gonna be like, oh well, it's one of these arcades that, okay, it's mildly big, it has your cabs and everything like that. No, free play was this giant ass venue. Not only it has the cabs, but it has the bar area, good ass food there. All the classics that I've played over the years. Like, I went from Pac-Man to Galaga, then Galaga to apparently the old Mario and Donkey Kong in a cab, by the way. And then it had all the Metal Slugs there, then all the fighters, Golden Axe. I was like, yo, what is this place?
That's right. Yeah, they definitely set the bar, as far as how an arcade or / barcade, should be, right? Previously to free play, we didn't have anything like that, and there were really no arcades that catered to the classics. I mean, you had your, GameWorks, right, which was, an arcade in itself, but they had a lot of racers and just the games of the modern times, right? Which, okay, yeah, those are fun, right? But that's not. That's not where it's at, man. You gotta have everything you just mentioned, in order to really make it happen, right? And lo and behold, they did. And obviously they're still going strong today with a new location opening up soon. So they are.
Wait a minute, there's a 5th location that's about to open?
Actually, 6.
Wait a minute, hold on. Okay,
yeah.
Let me counter my fingers quick fast. You got Richardson.
Yeah, Richardson.
You got Arlington. You got Dallas. You got Fort Worth.
What was
the 5th one? I don't know what the 5th one was.
That's Denton.
Oh yeah, that's right, Denton. It opened up in Denton. So I forgot about that. That's and I saw pictures of that. Pretty dope spot. That's right.
It really is, yeah.
So wait, so what's number 6 now?
Well, number 6, I don't think I can say yet. I don't think I can officially say yet, but it is being built out. It is in the North Texas area. I'll just leave it at that. And if you're pretty sneaky, you actually might be able to find the Instagram page for it.
Wow. Well, there you go. There you go, folks. If you want, if you try to know, you know. But man, six locations. That is incredible. That is incredible. So man, that's amazing. So kudos to the free play staff and the owners that really expanded over the time being. So that's pretty awesome. So very happy for those guys, and I'm pretty sure you'll be DJing that location as well too.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. It's not close to me per se, but we'll see, right? I mean, if they want me to, obviously I can make it happen. I definitely wouldn't mind it. You just would have to figure out, logistics and that type of thing. But nevertheless, right? I'm, spinning tunes as we speak, still in Free Play Dallas now on Fridays. Nice. Every now and then on Arlington, and every now and then on Denton. So, stay tuned.
Okay. Tell me this before we get into the next section, right? How did we DJ it? I know you've done it for years, and I used to do it before as well, like years back. How did you get into it?
Oh man, so I mean, this all goes back to the 90s, like me and a group of friends. Okay, and this actually still has a Street Fighter 2 tie into it, right? So when the Super Nintendo came out, right? Of course, that was the next system I got and everything. Street Fighter 2 came out. Everybody's playing in the arcade, right? And everybody's waiting. Oh, when's it going to come out on the home systems? When's it going to come out on the home systems, right? And sure enough, they announced it for Super Nintendo, and everyone just lost their minds, right? So, at the time, me and a group of friends that were in Laredo, as a matter of fact, me and my buddy, one of my buddies, just talked about this story not too long ago. But, so, two of us had a Super Nintendo, myself and my buddy Brian, okay? And then there was like another 2 of us that, we all hung out and played the games and stuff together, right? Well, Street Fighter 2 dropped for Super Nintendo. And of course, hey, when you're a kid and you don't have any money, you're poor or whatever the case may be, what do? You all chip in. And sure enough, all 4 of us chipped in like $20 each to, it was actually, I think it was 3 of us chipped in $20 each, right, to buy Street Fighter 2 World Warrior for SNES. The guy actually shaved off some of the price, so because tax brought it up to like $64 or something like that. He shaved off some of the price, so all we had to do was just pay $60 even, and we had it. Now the question came, well, who's going to keep it? Well, my buddy Brian kept it for a time being. We would just rotate it, right? Between us, this and that. One of the other friends, who chipped in was also a DJ already at that time in high school. He was already a DJ. He started DJing in middle school, right? And when we would all hang out at his house, he would have his setup right there, the vinyls, everything, right? And he taught me basically how to DJ a little bit because, like in order to earn some money or whatever, whenever he would do a gig, I would be one of his helpers. I'd, make like $20 moving speakers and equipment, and that I was like his roadie. Imagine that in high school, right? We were doing big parties and stuff in high school, and I was one of his roadies, and I even had a name tag and everything that he made. It was awesome. Awesome. And and then he we'd hang out at his house, and we'll be in the garage, and he's playing the records and stuff, and he's like, all right, come here, this is how you do it. And he taught me. So it was at that point in time when I really like, okay, this is fun, I like doing this, that type of thing. Fast forward to the early 2000s, Right. My brother-in-law, he was also a DJ. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always been around me, for the most part. And, in the early 2000s, this is kind of what I famously call it with like Chris Delp and a few other friends from Free Play, my dark period, where I wasn't gaming at all in the 2000s. I was partying. I was partying a lot. And during this time is when the DJing really started coming into effect, where we would have parties at my cousin's house all the time, like a lot.
Right.
And instead of, either renting my brother-in-law's equipment or having to borrow it from him, this and that all the time, which we did. And I would, I got like a real cheap mixer and just playing tunes in the house. It eventually escalated to where like, all right, well, you know what? Let me just invest in an actual mixer, and controllers, and just start playing music at the house whenever we would do parties and stuff, right? I mean, I kind of already knew how to mix from back then. And then sure enough, next thing you know, I'm just actively practicing at, our parties there. And then one thing led to another, to where it's like, man, people were telling me, man, you're actually pretty good at this. I'm like, well, okay, thanks. I'm just, trying to learn it as we go along here, in front of people. But then, sure enough, through another friend of mine that knew the owner of the Twilight Lounge here in Dallas, a real famous bar, so to speak, years back, he was like, hey, man, give Mike a shot DJing during the week, something to do. And then sure enough, that's how it started. That was and still is, one of my DJ, consistent DJ gigs. It's at Twilight Lounge, and that's how it started, man. And
that's awesome, man. What a story. What a story. I mean, humble beginnings like that, and it ties into Street Fighter. That's pretty awesome. So I really like that story there. I really like that story. Maybe you're wondering how I got into it before, right? So maybe you're wondering about that, right? How I got into DJing once upon a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'll tell you this, and I'll tell everybody this. So this started maybe in like 10th grade in high school, right? My uncle, really, really, really good DJ. Usually go to parties with his group of friends who were like family friends for like years, right? They were like, pretty much him, roadies, but they're all DJs at the time being, so they kind of like do this system and rotate and everything like that. So I remember when I was in the 10th grade, one day my uncle told me to come over. He wanted me to help move some speakers and all that kind of stuff. And we were setting up outside, actually, because normally they would have some, him and his friends, like on Saturdays, they would kind of practice and everything like that, because there's usually like big parties that they're going to have to attend and all that kind of stuff. So I think that one time I was like looking, and my uncle looked at me and he was like, yeah, you want to learn how to do this? I was like, yeah, and my eyes gleamed up, like literally. So I got on there, and at the time I didn't get the pleasure of seeing the vinyls, but I have seen the vinyls when I was a kid. But this is when I guess they were doing the shift, right, from vinyls to CDs. And at the time, he got like the newest, I believe, what brand it was. I think it was Newmarks, I believe. Yeah, it was about the Newmarks CD players. Yes. So he got those, and he was teaching me how to play. So during that time, when he got those, and I was like kind of messing around with it and everything like that. So it wasn't through hip hop that I was learning. I was actually learning it through like playing through reggae, which is pretty much like, for me, that's my thing that I kind of listen to a lot. So I was learning through that, and then he kind of taught me some stuff, and I was practicing until I actually got really good, right? Then one day, and this was like maybe a year later in 11th grade, right? Kind of practice one day. He was like, all right, cool. He's like, you know what I'm going to have? He's like, and this is the part that was really funny. He was like, yo, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to this party one night. But he's like, I'm going to tell your mom you're spending the night at my house. So I was like, all right, cool. I was gone over, went to this party, and no lie, I had stage fright at first because where it was set up at, it was in front of a whole bunch of people. And I kind of stepped up, and I was looking, and I kind of froze for a second there. And, you know, during that time, everybody was kind of looking at me, and it was kind of like the girls were laughing a little bit and all that stuff.
Oh.
And then I'm like, my uncle looked at me, and he smacked me in the back of the head. He was like, what the hell's wrong with you? So and I was like, I was like stumbling my words. I'm like, I didn't know I had to play in front of all these people. He's like, all right, look, this is what you're gonna do. I'm gonna stand right beside you, and I'm gonna help you, right? Did that. Next thing you know, I kind of got into the rhythm and everything like that, and I'm like, man, I was full blown into it. Fast forwarding, this was like when I was in trade school, right? Now we're shifting again. This time, if you should know, that's when they came out with the DJ apps and the apps that you could DJ off of on the computer. So the very first program that came out for that was Atomic DJ. This was like 2010, I believe? 2010, 2011, something like that. Atomic DJ. So my uncle didn't know squat in terms of how to do it, right? So I ended up teaching him how to use the laptop, and we found a way to put the laptop to the console and basically played through there. And the next, you know, I was playing in more and more parties afterwards.
Nice.
And then it became so easy. And then afterwards, you know, I kind of stopped because I guess the interest was gone. My interest was gone. This was like 2015. My interest was gone. But I would say, like, whenever I was at Free Play and I watched you play, not gonna lie, sometimes it really lights a fire for me to just get back into it again.
Yeah, man. You know, if you got time, do it.
Yeah, no, I gotta buy my own console. That's first thing, and get a little speaker and try it out because it's been way too long. So that's probably one of my future goals I gotta do. So appreciate you getting me back into it.
Well, I mean, hey, it's fair trade, right? I mean, appreciate you sharing, you know, Super Turbo knowledge with me when I desperately need it.
Man, you know, every time I feel like you are very receptive in terms of what I tell you. You know what I'm saying? And it is a pleasure that you are, you know, you've exceeded, not really exceeding my expectations because I already knew that you were gonna be great anyway. But I feel like one of the big things is that one of the big things about it is you are open to listen. That's one thing. And not only open to listen, but you're striving to be better than what you were before. So that's pretty much the biggest thing in that. But considering that we're getting into that, right? Let's talk about the tournaments, right?
Sure.
Now, aside from that, tell me, what was your first tournament that you attended?
Let's see. Well, before Spring Series became what it was, as far as Super Turbo is concerned, you know, we had our own, you know, tournaments, if you will, up here for Super Turbo. I don't even, let's see. I'm pretty sure the first one was even called Spring Series. I can't quite remember, but this was before any of you guys really knew us and that type of thing. And it was basically just a tournament amongst ourselves. And then lo and behold, we even had a couple of players from Houston drive up for it, right? And I forgot who they were, to be honest with you. I'd have to ask around because I hadn't seen them since. You know what I mean? Like, we met them and things like that, and that they, gosh, one of those guys actually was top 3. I actually came in 5th in that one, right? And this was, again, I mean, if I were to play against myself at that time, I would destroy myself, and somehow I came in 5th in that. So, go figure, right?
Right.
But, that was pretty nerve-wracking, right? Because, there was at least, I don't know, maybe between 30 some odd entrants, I believe, in for that very first one, right? And it was all just, local, us local players mostly, right? And again, with the exception of a couple of those guys from Houston, and I mean, you're just, there amongst ourselves, amongst all your friends and stuff, and you're going through this tournament, and it's like, nerve-wracking. It's like, you got the nerves and all this stuff, and we're playing on Big Blue, right? We were playing a Big Blue cab, and we didn't even have the candy cab yet, and even the streaming setup was pretty one to be desired too, with as they say, you make do with what you got. And Chris Delp's filming the thing on his iPhone. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would love to check out video of that, because he's got it, right? So it was just nerve-wracking. And then you go up, and you've got like 10 people all around you watching. You know what I mean? Because they're all crowded around the machine, and you're just playing it like, like, it's too much. It's too much around me. Like, y'all move or something. Get away, get off me. Let me just play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go watch something else or whatever. And all that. And that was just nerve-wracking and stuff. And believe it or not, even in the heyday of the 90s, in the arcades back then, there wasn't really too many arcades in this area that were actually having tournaments and stuff. I mean, the one arcade I frequented a lot, they did have tournaments, right? But they never had one in any of the Street Fighters that they had. They actually had one in Mortal Kombat 2 and, of all games, NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
We might have to talk about that one later. But
yeah, we might have to.
That might be part 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, other than that, I hadn't really had any experiences with tournaments until then. Then the next year, okay, that's when all the rest of the seasoned ST players started hearing about us and started traveling in for it, like Riz and who else came for that? I think Hukudo came for that one as well. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was there for that too. And it was Riz and I think Ultra Combo came and together, and then next thing you know, it's like, man, who are these guys? They're just destroying everybody. And I mean, meanwhile, all of us are here in DFW, just trying to play catch up, right? To that skill. And then Jumpsuit Jesse, right? Another Texas legend down here. He came up, and Hoss. Those guys, from Austin and Houston respectively came up, and like, man, next thing you know, it's like, man, we had a legit scene going at that point with all these people here for that next one. And then that's when we heard about Texas Showdown. And of course, like I was saying, I wasn't gaming at all in the 2000s or 2010s or anything like that, right? I knew tournaments existed, just I'd hear people talk about something randomly here and there, but I did not know anything about Evo. Okay, I remember hearing about Evo 37. I see a clip online. It's like, oh man, that's pretty cool. And look at all those people there. But it didn't register with me before I got into Super Total. Like that was the, if you will, be all into all of it, right? I just, again, I was just totally, out of the loop on all that stuff. I was, like I said, just into different stuff at that time. And sure enough, Texas showed. I was like, yeah, that's like Evo, but down here in Texas. I'm like, really? Okay. Well, let's go to it, And then sure enough, like a group of us from up here went down there. And, of course, the jumpsuit and all those guys told us about it. And then that first one was 2017. And boy, howdy, that was another nerve-wracking experience too. Just, man, like now you're playing against more seasoned players in one spot. And yeah, man, that my run ended fairly quickly. I remember like out of our group, Chris Delp was the first one up, and he's playing against Rocks or EST 1991, and that dude, I mean, he's like one of the OGs of it, right? And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, Chris got this. Chris has this. He's playing Dawson, right?
Right.
And then that thing was over before it started. I'm like, oh man, Chris just got destroyed. I don't believe this. Like what? What's happening? And then I go up, and then I barely win my first match, and then I was bounced the next two. It's like, oh man, this is rough. You know what I mean? Like, as a matter of fact, Jumpsuit Jesse, he gave me my first loss, and that was pretty over quick. I was like, man, what's happening here? You're like, man, and well, thankfully that one of the guys had a nice stash of whiskey in his bag, and we proceeded to party. The rest of the time there, I was like, okay, this is what it's like. And then it was at that point we're like, okay, this is serious. This is like, this is serious. Like, this is serious stuff. These guys really know the game inside and out. Like, what are you gonna do about it? You're gonna just try to keep it as casual. You're gonna try to learn more so you can compete with these guys. And well, I was like, well, let's take this route. Let's try to learn the game more and this and that. And here we are today.
Right.
Still learning, but that's when the bug was really planted in me, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is where I should have been years ago, but I'm here now. I'm late to the party, but I'm here now. And the way I see it, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. This is very much a part of me right now.
Yeah, that is awesome, though. I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, we met before that, actually. We met, we were talking before. Funny thing about that. We were, like, kind of talking before. Like, we were, like, in the interweaves at the time, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we usually talked about it. And I remember the first time I finally met you up front was the one weekend. I think it was, the one weekend you came up, and it was for Mania, actually.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
You came to Next Level, and you first met up with Jot C. And then I came over afterwards, and we finally get to meet. And the funny thing about it, that's where it all sort of began right there with us, because we talked over the internet before, but not, I want to say not a lot, but I would say like we talked, and then we finally met each other, and I was like, man, and I saw you, I'm like, wait a minute, who is this brolic dude in a Mavs jersey? I'm like, okay. And then I'm like,
he ain't from around here.
Yeah, that's what I said. He ain't from here. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. And then I was like, oh, Mike Beltran, Anthony, go ahead, Megaman. Yeah. And then we played our games and everything, and it was pretty something. And like I said, then 2019 we met up again. Pretty much we had our match, which was a thriller. And that 2019 tournament was legendary because,
Yeah.
to be honest, that was probably the very first tournament that I've attended that had like 100+ entrants in it. And like during my time, I never attended anything afterwards. The second one that was the most that did was Combo Breaker 2019 afterwards. So that one had, I think, 90 entrants. But this one, that free play was like what, 110, I believe. So
it was 110, 120, definitely 110, somewhere around there.
110 right there, and we had people from all over came through. Like you got the Japanese, you got people from New York, you got people from Cali, you got people from Florida, Arizona. Oh my God, you can name it. Everybody was there. That tournament was a thing of legends right there. And
it absolutely was.
It really was. I definitely missed it, but man, COVID really screwed things up. But then afterwards, I visited Texas some more. That's like my second home actually. So
yeah.
I visited Texas some more. We hanged out some more. We went to the Mavs game. We had that one ride. We had that one ride to Shabu Shabu Ramen with Lauren, aka Tiger Lily, where a lot of questionable music was played. So
boy,
it was very interesting. Very interesting. So let's fast forward. Right now, you placed third at Texas Showdown. Right. You were doing really fantastic, by the way, really fantastic stuff. Take me towards then. Like, how much prep time did you had during that tournament? By the way, like, were you running off of no prep, or you had some practicing?
Are you talking about this year?
Yeah, this year.
Oh, this year I got fourth.
Oh, it was fourth. Okay.
Yeah, 2 years ago I got third.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as prep and things like that, I mean, man, let me tell you, and sometimes this is kind of the way it goes with most of my tournaments that I entered. I really don't have time. I won't. Let me rephrase that. I do have time. It's just, when you get to the venue, that type of thing. I'm talking with everybody, and I rarely get a chance to play, to warm up. A lot of times I just kind of go into it cold, like that, and that's even the case here. Like when we do our little, gatherings here and there, and there's a small tournament happening, like I'll just go into it cold, and my first match is my warm up. You know what I mean? But at least this year for Showdown, right? Despite that, all that was happening with, me helping out with the cabs and all these things, making sure all that stuff was running smoothly. I was actually able to get a few games in with Ito and kind of warm up that way. So I think, having to go through the gauntlet with him for a little bit, that definitely got me up to speed with what was to be in store, and a pretty respectful run, I think, occurred out of that. So. But yeah, I mean, as far as other, like trying to warm up and those type of things, like, man, at this point, it's just really learning more of the matchups against other characters that, I really don't have a chance to, play against that much, and
right.
I think that's the challenge nowadays with, if you play in an arcade a lot versus, not playing so much on Fightcade, is, you have a hard time with learning other matchups, things like that, because, you're still playing the same people over and over,
Right.
So it gets difficult.
So I got a question in regards about that. Have you really kind of like, I know you're a purist for offline and everything, but have you kind of just like decided to say, hey, let me just give Fightcade a try to just sharpen up yourself?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't mind getting on Fightcade to play a few matches here and there. I mean, I understand there's little differences and stuff like that, but I really don't mind it that much per se. Like Matter of fact, the last time I was online was like a random Thursday night when I was DJing Thursday nights in Free Play Dallas, and Carlitos was working, and we both get off at around about the same time, and he was like, "Hey man, you want to play tonight online?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was off work the next day, so yeah, let's play. And sure enough, I kid you not, man, we did a first to 20. I'm sure, I guess it records it right or whatever.
It did, yeah.
It's there. We did a first to 20. An hour and a half later, we're finally done. So yeah, that was the last time I was on Fight K. Was, I guess a couple of months back with Carlitos and stuff. But yeah, I don't mind getting on, online and that type of thing. It's just, man, with all the stuff I do on a weekly basis, it's just finding time to do it. Just, do I want to do this now, or do I want to just unwind and watch WrestleMania 7 for the 8,000th time?
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand, and not to mention, you got a city to run, so it kind of does make sense in a way. But it kind of makes sense that you have to. So, my God, it is what it is, man. It's okay, bro. It is. So don't worry about it. I completely understand.
Video run,
Mayor.
Oh my God,
Mr. Mayor. So
Mayor.
I understand that. Oh man. Oh man. All right. So let's move on. Right. Let's talk about this other section in terms of the great fighting game community. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to tell me, right, before we get into the retro, let's talk about the modern. Right. What are your thoughts on the current FGC as it is today?
Well, I tell you what, considering the success of Evo, just a few weeks ago with Third Strike, just, having over 1,000 entrants on it, I'd like to think that as a whole, with younger players, if you will, playing Third Strike for the first time or recently just to participate in that, and or us older players, participating in it if that was your game, it does two things, right? Number one, it tells me that the fighting game community as a whole is definitely thriving, and it gives like a new spotlight, if you will, to quote the retro fighting game, to where like, okay, yes, these games that are much older that some people still play religiously or whatever the case may be, still has quote quality to invest your time into it, to in essence learn a new game that might be 20 years old or 25 years old in this case, and then compete from there. Likewise, right, take it the other way around, right? I could maybe, I haven't yet because again of what we just talked about, running the city and everything. I wish I had more time to get into Street Fighter 6, just to play it at a nice decent level to where like, all right, I can have fun with my friends that do play Street Fighter 6,
Right.
Now of course, Sagat's not in the game yet, right? So that's, that definitely plays a factor into it as to why I don't play it that much right now. But when he does get in it, which it should have been already happening in my opinion, hey, I could go play my buddy Nicholas Germain in some Street Fighter 6, instead of just, us playing Super Turbo. Like, okay, we can change it up and play more other games, together. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just overall, I think it's alive and well, man. To me, I mean, I don't see it dying off or anything. I mean, Texas Showdown was, still good this year. And of course, there's other, if you will, independent tournaments popping up here and there now, and, my understanding of those are being well attended and fun, and, yeah, I think everything's alive and well as long as you give a good presentation and do it the right way and with care, right, and with spirit, if you will. I think you'll have a good turnout.
Yeah, which is very which, by the way, which brings us to this other one. Now, my understanding is you've been Mr. TOing as of lately, and you have a certain tournament that's coming up that's actually in September. So
yes.
you were here. I mean, we kind of talk. It's funny because in our conversations, you used to talking about it a lot, and you had the layout and everything like that. Which folks will be on the episode, by the way. You were telling me about running the tournaments and everything like that, and now you got fighting spirit. And tell me, where did fighting spirit come from? Like, where do you get the name from?
Well, I'll be more than happy to tell you. So with with anything, the winds of change, happen to be on us sometimes, and with COVID really hurting our local scene as it did, with a lot of players just not playing anymore or not coming out anymore, that type of thing, and granted we had some new players join us along the way, right? But our scene definitely as a whole didn't have the numbers like it used to, so our monthlies and those type of things, those numbers started dwindling, right? So I'm like, well, people are kind of spread out now, and a lot of people doing their own thing or playing elsewhere, or whatever the case may be. I'm like, man, there has to be something someone can do to attempt to bring it all back together in some kind of way. Oh, I guess that's me. I forgot. I have a city that I run.
Yes, you do.
Well, why not? Why not incorporate some of that skill into being a TO, right?
Yep.
And and of course, you and I, we had our own side conversations about it, this and that, and and obviously, my passion for the community and for the game, right, the Street Fighter game, because let's face it, it's a game that I've loved, since I first laid eyes on it, right? I love this game, the Street Fighter 2 franchise in general, right? I want to see it keep going because, what it once was, it can be again, right? And I was like, all right, well, let me just start doing it myself, Let me just tell some people that, hey, man, let's just do it, let's just do it ourselves and, figure it out as we go for the first couple. And like, yeah, you know what? I mean, I have the equipment for it. I have the know-how for it. Why not? You know what I mean? I have the backing for it, the authority, if you will, with, free play and everything. Why not do it? Sure. All right, let's just do it. And of course, I was doing my first couple events outside of free play, and then of course got moved to free play, which made sense, right? And here we are with Fighting Spirit 5. Go for it! Coming soon this September. And it's shaping up to be a pretty decent one for it to be, quote, the unofficial but official 30th anniversary tournament.
Good.
So, yeah.
It is. And folks, it is happening in September, so definitely stay tuned to it. I mean, he did came up to New York to my tournament and definitely broadcasted, and people were interested in going. Yeah. So it's very awesome. Like, I would say, like, for me, in terms of how I became the whole TO stuff, I mean, I think I kind of told you the story like a million times in terms of how it is, but it's always fascinating to hear it because it started in COVID, and we really, and I really say, like, we really thought, like, it was going to be the end of all things in terms of, like, meeting up with people and, you know, playing ST and everything like that, until I just decided, hey, you know, why don't we just, you know, we do things safely, play some ST, call it a day. And pretty much what turned into a backyard cookout turns into a whole, I want to call it, well, now certain people call them it like their major, like an Evo major for Super Turbo on the East Coast. Like, call it the Grand Cookout Tournament. And so far I have, like, you know, well, if I were to count officially kind of how much I've done, I would probably say I've done maybe 5 so far. Well, actually 4. I've done 4 so far. But now this pass is kind of like my maybe 5th in a way. So next year it is definitely going to be another one. So there might be 2 tournaments. I'm doing. But I'm not going to disclose what the second tournament's going to be yet. So
yeah, there you go.
That's coming up. But obviously everyone knows that, you know, Rumble in the Cookout 3 is 2025. That's for sure. So
excellent. And assuming I don't have any gigs or anything crazy pending, I will be there again.
Yeah, I just have to come up with a date. That's pretty much about it. Which, you know, that's going to be worked on. So that's for sure.
And speaking of dates, Fighting Spirit 5 down here is September 21st.
Oh yeah, 21st. Very good number. That's a Saturday. So definitely, folks, come down there and wait. Which free play is going to be at?
This one will be at Free Play Arlington.
There we go. We'll be at Free Play Arlington. So definitely take notes, folks. You know, Fighting Spirit 5, go for it. It's there. I love the art. I love the artwork of it, by the way. It's so amazing.
Would you like to know the... well, I didn't answer the other question, but I'll give you this question and answer too. Okay. But would you like to know where the artwork got its inspiration from?
So it's funny. I know the answer, but they don't. But you should tell them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you haven't seen the artworks for the previous tournaments, the flyers and whatnot, you know, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to share them with you. But basically, right, the first one was, you know, you're kind of generic, you know, Fighting Spirit 1, it was just, you know, Ken and Ryu on the front. Cool, right? Just your basic info, that type of thing. I'm like, all right, this is fun. Well, then came the second one. I'm like, okay, what do you do with the second one, right? How do you you know, make this a thing, right? Like, how can we spice things up and make it fresh and, you know, just little nuances to keep it. Yeah, this is like on brand for, you know, Mike's thinking. Well, what do we call it? Well, let's see here. Fighting Spirit 2. Electric Boogaloo. There you go. And if you're familiar with those 2 words, Electric Boogaloo, yes, they're from the movie Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. Yes, and you just look up that poster. That was the artwork for, you know, Fighting Spirit 2, and just basically picture your favorite Street Fighter characters doing whatever random fighting pose that they were in, just like the breaking poster itself. There you go. And then, well, I said, well, let's keep the movie theme going as far as we can. Part 3. Okay. Fighting Spirit 3, Rise of the Machines. And then you just, all right, well, there's, you know, you have your Terminator or you know, on the movie poster, well, let's see, he has the red eye and technically has one eye. Well, who has one eye? Oh yeah, that's my character, right? Let's put him on the front in the same type of position and with everyone else, right? So there you go. And then of course, part 4, A New Hope. So let's just have your favorite characters in a similar type pose as Star Wars A New Hope, and there you go. And then part 5, go for it, right? I mean, hey, if we're gonna do a 30th anniversary tournament, we got to go for it, right?
Yeah,
well,
that is true.
As Rocky did in Rocky 5, go for it. Where you have, if you look up that poster, Rocky has his fist in the air, has a similar pose for one Ryu, and then the background, of course, it's him again, looking off into the sunset with the American flag. Well, in this case here, it's my guy just looking off into his, deep thought pose, character pose, and with the Texas flag behind him. So now part 6, I've got some ideas for it already. Of course, there's not many movie franchises that go, maybe past 10, right? But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But part 6, I've already got some ideas for it, and I may have just given it away in my last sentence right now as far as what that one will be. So we'll see. We'll see how that one turns out.
That's very good to know, man. Right.
And of course, yes, there is one more. I didn't answer your question. How did I come up with the name?
Yeah,
Fighting Spirit. And this one, I got to give you credit for.
Oh, really?
Yes, I got to give you credit for this. So, you and I, of course, are big wrestling fans. We
are. Yes.
And we watch all the wrestlings, all the kinds of wrestlings out there, and that type of stuff. And one of the things that you and I both watch is the New Japan Pro Wrestling, right?
Yep.
Although I got to get caught up. I haven't seen any of the G1, but that's for another day. But one of the things I would hear or maybe even witness or see during a New Japan match would be one's fighting spirit. If they kick out at one, fighting spirits, and only because you and I were talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling one day, it was like, oh yeah, Fighting Spirit. That's the name right there, Fighting Spirit. That is the name of my event, Fighting Spirit. And and you helped trigger that electron to produce those two words in my brain.
Well, hey man, I appreciate it, and I appreciate it. I mean, didn't expect to be part of a lore of your epic tournaments, man, but it definitely warms my heart that I am part of that. So I greatly appreciate that a lot, man.
Yeah, sure. And I think no better way to celebrate that than with this next big one coming up. And let me tell you, it's shaping up to be a good one.
Yeah,
it really is. It really is.
Yeah, it is. I did say I was coming, so definitely am coming. And I know other people that I do know that are really good are going as well. So it should be real interesting. So can't wait.
Yeah, and I've already announced one person personally that's coming to in our local chats here, but I haven't announced the other two that have confirmed with me personally outside of you that are coming as well. And maybe now's the time I could do that.
Oh yeah.
But because they've already given me their blessing, I just haven't done it yet. What better way to do it than here, right? Mm-hmm. So, coming down for Fighting Spirit 5, not only is, yourself and Hokuto, but also we have my man, all the way from Oklahoma, Enforcer. He's coming in. Oh,
man. Enforcer? Damn.
Yeah, yes.
Sick.
Who recently did some damage at Evo, so
yeah, he did.
He's on a streak, man. He even did very, very well in Texas Showdown this year, and that dude's on fire, man. So let's see if he keeps up that momentum. And this one is, warming my heart as I'm about to say it, but a returning player that hasn't been to our Fairburg in quite some time. who would frequent our Fairburg very often, even though he lived in another state that was closer. But he has then since moved back to NorCal, but making his return to Texas is Noun.
Oh man, that is sick. That is sick, man. I haven't seen my man in like a hot minute. I still got the photo of us, me, you, Noun, and Delp in front of a water. Oh, me, you, Noun, Delp, and Super V actually in front of a Whataburger. That photo was amazing. It was an incredible photo. So, man, oh man, but sick. Noun is returning back. That is awesome.
Yes, he is. Yes, can't wait to see him. It's been, let's see, the last time I saw him was at, what was it? Reloaded, or in Cali last year. What was it? Oh man, I already forgot.
Oh, was it Genesis?
No.
Not Genesis.
Not Reloaded.
Was it 37 Reloaded? No?
Yeah, right? Yeah, that was the
Watson tournament, yes.
Yeah, his last one, right? Yeah. I saw him there. We met up there and everything, and that one was, boy.
I know. There was quite a bit of interesting stories in regards about the whole cab situation. And,
yeah.
You know what? That brings up another question about that. How do you feel about that, by the way?
Well, there seems to be it's a hot topic button whenever someone brings up I guess maybe the preferred or maybe correct way to play the game, whether it be on a cab, whether it be on American cab, Japanese cab, okay, what kind of sticks, what kind of buttons, okay. And then also, using your own sticks, right? And then should the cabs be modified to accept your own sticks and that type of thing and whatever. And, I got to tell you, man, I mean, here's the thing, man. For me, it really, I mean, yes, you can introduce maybe a millisecond of delay if you put like another adapter in front of another adapter or something like that, to get your stick to work on the machine or something like that. Those things, may or may not happen. Who really knows, right? Unless someone does some accurate, thorough testing, right? But here's the thing, man. In the 90s, when that game was introduced to us, it was on American cabs, Big Blues, or Dynamos. Circle gates with concave buttons, not laid out in the same way as your modern day fighting stick, right? Mm-hmm. That's how we learned to play on it, Right. Back then, whether it be casually or competitively, you choose, right? That's what we had, and that's what we played on. And maybe you can help me out with this, somewhere along the way, right? Sticks were being, mass produced for home use, for console use, that were in the Japanese style layout, square gates and, Sanwa buttons and these type of things. And then that, kind of became the norm, right? And then, there was a hot topic when free play, like I said, we were playing on Big Blues, and at the time, a lot of fuss was being raised. Like, well, you need the correct way to play it is on a Japanese cab. Like, what? You know what I mean? And of course, me being new to it, like, well, why? It's the same game. But help me out here.
I can tell you. So
yeah.
Preferably, funny thing is, the Big Blue, holds close to my heart because that was the first cab I ever played on, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And the whole correct way of playing for a Big Blue American cab versus a Japanese cab and everything, it's because folks want to sit. That's one thing. They hate the idea of standing up and being shoulder to shoulder because A, there's no room, and B, the next person will attempt to bump you for some sort of weird kind of reason. Yeah. And then it was like how it's more about like comfortability. That's one thing. And the idea of where the sticks and everything came from was pretty much from the cabs itself. Like, you had all the Japanese and samurai sticks came from the candy cabs. Like, the first time I seen a candy cab was probably 2015. No, not 2015. And that's when I went to a game store that I moved out to Bed-Stuy, and there was a mom and pop store that had it. It was right across the street from an EB Games during the time, and I saw the Japanese cab. It was a blast at the moment, and I was like, man, this thing is good. At first, I'm like, man, this thing is gigantic. And then I came to myself, I'm like, wait a minute, why is it so low? That was my first question. Why is it so low to the ground? I was like, this is weird. I'm like, I remember I kind of asked the question to one of the clerks there. He's like, wait a minute, you never seen this before? I'm like, no, I'm used to standing up. If it's either playing Street Fighter on Big Blue or playing Metal Slug on the Neo Geo cab standing up, I was perfectly fine with that. But then I saw the cab right there, and I'm like, whoa, never seen that before. Kind of touched it, and I'm not gonna lie, it felt pretty smooth. So and you know, when Free Play finally got, you know, their Blast City in, I was like, okay, I'm basically relearning how to play the game again. You know, and I guess just because, you know, people said it's the preferred way because, you know, this is how the Japanese people play it. Okay, that's fine. But, you know, at some point, right, you know, if you want newer players to play your game, right, the younger generations, right, these guys, they grew up playing on their own sticks, on their own consoles, you know. And if they're accustomed to playing it that way, playing a game that way, right, and if you want the scene to have numbers or whatever the case may be, you may want to consider, you know, putting in a little USB slot so they can, you know, play the game with you. Now, you know, to each his own, right? And people are gonna run their own facilities as they see fit, and that's fine too, right? You know, I mean, if you're Evo, or if you're Texas Showdown, or if you're Free Play or whatever, I mean, you know, if anything, set the expectation to the player and that, this is what we have, this is how we're going to use it. All right, cool. You know, and, you know, if a person is used to playing on a stick on their lap, it shouldn't be too different than them playing on a cab. You know, I mean, it's almost the same position, right? So it pretty much is. So I feel why this became a real hot topic, if you remember, is the whole Chris G situation, where the Jazzy circuit, like he said, the stick wasn't working, and he was kind of looking to use his own, but I guess the TO at the time told him, oh, they don't have it, and apparently he said, oh, well, I guess I should just go home, and then he kind of just, the TO told him, yeah, you should just go, and my man's left, which kind of sparked the whole debate upon, like, oh, you know, maintenance of the cabs and everything like that, who really maintains it and everything like that. Like, Free Play had the text that's there, just like, you know, Brooklyn Video Games has text there on the spot to just change out pretty much the parts that you need to do. So I felt like things like that could have been mitigated, but alongside, like, I'm a fan. I'm all for, you know, playing what you're most comfortable on, to be honest with you. And I feel that's good, but I don't like the idea of holding the scene hostage or holding the game that you really want to play hostage just because you want to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And trust me, I get it. Like, sure, do you want to play on your stick? Of course. I mean, it's more comfortable than playing on a cab, but then again, at the same time, I was trained and built to play on cabs as well. So it's not like I don't know how to play. It's like my hands are not foreign to play on a cab, you know what I'm saying? And the way, and my message is like, hey, I'm a tournament player at the same time. So for me, I have to adapt in terms of what I play on. Like, if there's a super gun out there, sure, I'm bringing my stick. But then if there's a cab out there, there's no reason for me to do that. I'll just say like, hey, if a button's not working or anything like that, the tech on site is gonna fix it. You know what I'm saying? So there's things like that, and I don't like the idea of like, oh, well, you putting undamned ports on it, which I feel like I don't know. Does it depreciate the price of the cab that you have in case you want to sell it? You know what I'm saying? Or does it raise it more or something like that? Things like that, that's kind of up in the air for me with that part, because I'm not a cab owner. Well, technically I'm not, but it's like, to me, I feel like I question that, because I see people just saying like, I'm not going to go to a tournament that doesn't allow me to play sticks or anything like that. Then I'm like, okay, well, it's not up to you. It's up to the TO. That's the thing. And it's not, and at the same time, it's also not up to the TO as well. It's up to the vendor that they choose. So the vendor that they choose doesn't have that, then oh well. You know what I'm saying? It's either you adapt or sink. It's something like that. So that's how I feel in regards about it. Like, I'm in virtually the middle. Like, I would like to play comfortably, but for me, if I'm playing retro, I rather appreciate the machines that I play it on. That's how I see it. While on the modern, of course, I'll bring my stick because, well, you kind of have to. You know, it's like that. But yeah, that's how I feel about that personally.
Sure. Yeah, and you know that there's, I mean, I see both sides to it. You know, I do, right? And there's you have a niche product combined with a niche consumer. Yeah. And then even then there's another layer to that, right? Yeah. And that's where it gets, real, hazy sometimes. And I myself, I am a cab owner, right? And there's ways to go about it to where, you can, install and mount a USB connector on a cab, right? How clean do you want it? Well, you can have it, nicely drilled out and mounted on the cab where you just plug it in right there. Boom, there it is. It's cool. Or, you can do it in another way to where you have, cables run outside of the cab. There's little holes on the cab where you can, weave cables in and out of it to where, like, all right, just tape it on the side right here, and when we're done, we take it off, and you still have the cab in its original form, right. And so I mean, there's ways around that to, quote, prevent, any real hardcore modifications happening to your own personal cab, right? And right, to each his own, right? Like, me personally, like, if I wanted to have USB ports on my cab, I have the ability to do that. I have the, little circuit boards to do that with, and not really modify any hardcore, drilling or anything like that on my cab. It's just, all right, there it is right there. Just plug it in, it's taped to the side. It's cool, but some of that too, I think, is communication up front, Yeah. I think, a lot of times these things need to be set up front as far as like how the, game will be played on what system, on what type of device up front. That way, all right, well, if you leave any reasonable doubt, right? Oh yeah, they should have the way to, plug in my stick, and you get there and it's not there. Well, I mean, again, you run into that treacherous water of navigation. Like, how do you get out of this without any real conflict or issues arising from it? And in the end, who really wins?
That's true. That is true.
Who really wins there, other than just the debate sparked. But if things are communicated up front, I think then you're setting the expectation right away to the consumer. Like, okay, and if it sticks broken, it's not responding. I mean, techs are on site right there at Free Play, and they'll switch it out in a matter of time. It won't take long.
Exactly. And it kind of brings me to my other question: is like, okay, let's say that happens, but your stick broke, then what? You know what I'm saying? They were right back. They were pretty much right back where we started. I feel like at the end of the day, I think what it is, and I'm not throwing no shade at all towards it. Like I said, I just like you, I see it on both sides of the fence, but I feel like at the same time, for a fact your stick broke, and then you're like, okay, well, my stick broke, but you kind of have to X yourself out because you still have to play on the cab, but you don't feel comfortable on it. Then next thing you know, you lose because of it. Then you have to spend money to fix your own stick. It's like, well, what did I get you? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, there's always so much factors in terms of that. Yeah. But hey, I mean, like I said, that's how I feel. I'm pretty subjective about it, but we'll like I said, I mean, I don't want people to feel like, hey, we should gatekeep being a part of the community because I don't want to. You're not playing to my standards that I like. That kind of attitude is not warranted. That's how I feel. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So that's a pretty good talk. Now we get to the last leg, right? We're up to the last leg of your interview, my man. I'm gonna just give you a 2-part question.
Sure.
And I want you to answer, and I just want you to answer it pretty much. You take all the time you need. What are your goals, basically? What are your goals at this point? Tournament-wise, fighting game community-wise? Mm-hmm. Like, what are your goals? Like, what are your goals? What are you aiming for at this point?
Well, I got to tell you, like, once I started entering, I guess, larger scale tournaments, and much less even traveling for them in the past, few years, like I have, the goal for me personally has always been make top 8. Right? That's like the sweet spot. If you make top 8 in a tournament, you've definitely accomplished something, right? Now, obviously, the competitive side of the whole thing is, okay, you've made the goal, right? But now can you finish the game? Just like in football, right? You scored a goal, right? But now finish the game, right? So, I've done that, a handful of times with, performances in various tournaments I've been in, and there's been some where bad day at the office. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bad day at the office, we have those, and you just them's be the breaks. But always the goal has always been to make top 8, and man, this year so close to winning my first, I guess, quote, major, I guess. I don't know, but it was definitely a big ST tournament at Jazzy Circuit Final, and I came in second, man. And I played against a very, very long time seasoned veteran in no practice, right? And I had beat him in winners finals, right? And you saw it, and then he turned right back around, picked another character, and it was over before it started. Next thing you know, his hands raised. I'm like, man, what happened? You know what I mean? Yeah. And later on that night, we all went out to go eat, and he told me, he said, man, and this goes to experience, right? He said, I saw something in your game with OGOT that I knew I could exploit. and he told me what it was, and I was like, man, that's right. That actually happened. You know what I mean? And I was like, whoa, that's cool. I was fascinated by it. It's like he saw one thing, two things. He told me exactly what they were, and he knew how to exploit it with Dictator, and that's what happened. And I was like, man, that's awesome. You know what I mean? That was awesome. Like I was like, wow, you know, like, and there you go, right? I mean, that's just experience with matchups and things like that. And obviously he had it, and there you go. That's why he won, you know. But I mean, hey, for coming in second with, you know, we had, I think, like 45 people in that one, give or take. You know, I was really, really proud of myself on that one. And, you know, I mean, I can't but, you know, pat myself on the back on that. You know, like, yeah, that's, you know, the best, you know, I've ever done. You know, like I've come in third at Texas Showdown before. I've come in fourth this year. You know, I've won little tournaments here and there in our area. You know, no big deal there. But you know, these right here, you know, the CEO a couple years back, I was one away from top 8. You know, and Vodka beat me. You know, again, in a very similar epic matchup like what me and you had, and he plays the same character. I was like, man, this is almost the spring series all over again with Megaman. It was close. It was close again. I was like, man, you know, if you can't beat him, join him. That's why I'll mess around with Geef now. You know, so it's like, yeah, I mean, I was one away from top 8 at CEO, getting a medal there, you know, and that right there really lit a fire into me. It's like, all right, I got to get better. And, you know, since then, you know, I like to think I have been, and, you know, that's the goal for me, top 8, and to eventually take one of these home. So yeah, that's the goal right there. Also, right, you know, this whole TO thing, it's, you know, pretty relatively new for me. I mean, I've done a few already, you know, here locally on a small scale, but obviously this one coming up, you know, this is going to be as they say, a litmus test. You know, let's see what, you know, let's see what comes out of it, right? And I mean, there's things that, you know, I've showed you a couple of things already as far as what's in store, and there's still a couple other things I need to wrap up on as far as you know, prizes and that type of thing is concerned, and all that stuff. But you know, it takes a village, right? So
it does.
You know, it takes a village, right? So, you know, it definitely been thankful for all the wisdom you've given me, and, you know, others out there. You know, like Riz and, you know, others that I've talked with already, you know, Javi down at Texas Showdown, you know, he and we've talked quite a bit in the past couple of years, you know. I mean, I was just with him not too long ago in Houston. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, you know, and he and I, like, we had a nice long conversation of just, you know, similar to what we're doing. Like, we should have taped it. No, it was pretty good. You know, it was similar to this, right? On how we really got to knowing each other's backgrounds and stuff, and it was really cool, you know. But we didn't tape it. You know what I mean? But you know, I mean, it's been a learning experience, and it's been fun. You know, I'm definitely having fun with it, and, you know, I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. And yeah, I mean, the goal is to have this Fighting Spirit 5 a successful event, which I'm confident it will be, and you know, see what I can build off of it for future events.
Very good answer there, man. And I do look forward to more of your events, man. And I do definitely feel the sentiments on both of them, especially like the tournament. Yeah, like you, I definitely do want to take it home. There's a lot of times I mean, there's a lot of times I came close, bro. And you have no idea. Like I came close, and it was just in crazy fashion. Probably the closest I've had in a tournament was last year's Summer Jam, and I lost to Noguchi Claw in a thriller, same thriller kind of way. Last game, last round, last hit. It was kind of crazy. And that one, it's funny because I don't want to. I have a mini thing there, a mini lore, but after that tournament, I kind of I remember sitting down afterwards, and I said to myself, man, I did not. I keep wondering to myself, I'm like, man, I did not expect to do so well against him like that. And I remember my boy, who was with me during the time. His name is Brandon, aka the chef. He came up to me, and he was like looking at me. He's like, man, what's wrong, bro? And he was like, bro, there are times that I kept saying, I'm not saying like I'm not tired of getting the second place, but I felt like this one I literally could have had it. But he was like, man, I just said I felt like, not like I felt like I failed. Actually, I was like more relieved in a way, if you understand. It's like I was kind of relieved, only because I was like, man, I came close. Apparently, he's arguably one of the, I would say one of the best in Japan that's out there. Besides, besides the Maos, the Odo-chan. Well, he's on the list as well. Fujimon and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, I took this man to the limit, and I just I really didn't expect to do it, but I did not. I said to myself, man, after that, I just kind of literally took a break. I ain't gonna lie. Till then, this break still happened, and the break is good. The break is good. The break is good. But I did say the break will be over. Come in September. That's for sure.
Man.
I'm like, I wanna return and see what I got. That's what I will say. So I can't wait for your event. And from one TO for another, let me just tell you, just like you said, bro, it's still, for me, it's still new territory, because besides doing the barbecue tournament, I still also run Monday Night Turbo, which is an online tournament, which one of these days you should join, by the way. But but
I think you know what I'm doing on Monday nights.
I know. I was just throwing it out there. So I'm just throwing it out there. But no, in hindsight, like I said, I know how it feels, but I am really proud of you, though, in terms of you taking the reign and basically running the tournament, and the biggest one, which is unofficially the 30th anniversary of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Which a lot of events this year has been pretty stacked as of lately. So it's been like, with yours, I don't expect no different. That is going to be stacked as well. So I can't wait to see how it unfolds, honestly.
Yeah. And, speaking of events and stuff like that, I got to give my man Faulkner down here in DFW a shout out too, because he, like in between my events, if you will, whatever the case may be, up there in Free Play Denton, man, he's got his own little crew up there that, he's farming. He's got a nice little farm system up there, and he has his little Super Turbo tournaments up there at Free Play Denton mostly. And he's like, he definitely cares about it as much as I do, and that type of thing. So, kudos to him to, keep that fighting spirit alive, if you will, up there in Free Play Denton. So, I'm thinking that prior to, my event, there'll probably be like a couple of, mini tournaments with us locally down here, just to get, more practice in, a tournament style setting with people and that type of thing. Because we really hadn't had one in quite some time, where there's a good gathering of us, So, even my last one, there was a certain NBA basketball tournament happening as well that caused delays in my last Fighting Spirit to start on time, so lessons learned there. Don't run an event during the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
But nevertheless, right? This, like I said, this one's gonna, be happening. And you know what? I'm gonna piggyback off of what you were just talking about. With your performance with the guy you just mentioned. But I mean, at 37 Reloaded last year, kind of the same thing, right? And it just so happens that no one really talks about it other than me and J Kim, because he was right behind me. But in that tournament, I played against Hokuto, and I was up 2-0 on him. And like, no one does that unless he's unless you're Ito, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was up 2-0 on him, and I was one away from knocking him out, which may have been his first loss in who knows how long, outside of being in the, top 8 or finals or whatever. But ironically enough, while that was happening, all the attention was on the commentary, because it was James Chen and Tomo.
Yeah, that's right. That was so unfortunate how that happened, man.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's Tomo. He's the guy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, folks had him as it's kind of crazy. Folks had him as a ghost, and I mean, it was pretty awesome that he came back. So. I'm sorry it really came at the expense of you. You were beat up 2-0 on Hokuto. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, if anything, it would have made the interview more memorable had I actually won. Yeah. You know what I mean? If anything, oh yeah, it's just some dude. He's up 2-0, whatever, right? So, Tomo, how you been? You know what I mean? Like, that type of thing. But yeah, but hey, I mean, I'll hang my hat on that. And, speaking of, great players like that, I mean, Mao, when he was here, oh, brother, did we have a good time?
Oh, I believe it. I heard stories, man. I heard some stories, and yeah, when he was here, it was pretty interesting. But I heard stories when he was over there, man. It was kind of wild. I heard so.
Boy, howdy was it. Man, I'll show you the pictures later.
For sure, man, for sure. So, well, I at this point right now, it's shout-outs time. So, do you have any shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I obviously, just made one right now with, my man Faulkner, of course. I mean, really, hey, shout outs to, like I said a little while ago, to everyone that's, I've talked with over the last, couple of years, to, number one, gain knowledge in the game, gain knowledge with T. Owen and stuff like that. That would, like yourself, Rizwan, like I said, Javi down there in Showdown. I mean, Jumpsuit Jesse, he was like, he's like my original sensei, really. Matter of fact, I was just with him in Houston not too long ago. He and I played like an hour at his house. And, and he has his own cab and stuff like that. And yeah, like 2 weeks ago, right, I was with Jumpsuit, who also should be coming too, by the way. He's still working that out, but we'll see. But yeah, who's also one of the OGs. Of course, my man Chris Delp. I mean, he started the whole community himself, right? Just because he wanted to, and I mean, look what happened. I mean, out of this community, I've made tons of new friends. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people, when you talk to, whoever is a gamer, no matter what game they play, right? Whether it be online or in person or whatever the case may be, these guys make friends with whoever, and that type of thing. And, I mean, a few years ago, I wouldn't have thought of having, this many friends, right? They're all cool people. You know what I mean? J Kim, he's one of my dudes, you know what I mean? And, shout outs to him. And of course, everyone else locally here, gosh, you got Tad and, you got, of course, some of the other OGs like Rob and, the Jerry and Jerry. You know what I mean? And you know, my man Crazy Ray, he's out there. You know, gosh, who else am I leaving out? I'm leaving out all kinds of people. You know, Rob. You know, Rob's Chun. You know, he'll get you if you're not careful. You know, man, who am I leaving out? Let's see. Who else is there? I mean, you know, people, right? You know what I mean? Who, you know, anyone that I hadn't named yet, I'm sorry, but you know I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, appreciate you being on this interview, my guy. And
yeah, absolutely. We've been talking long enough.
I mean, no, we haven't. No,
we haven't. But
we really haven't. This is nothing. That's the thing. This is nothing.
I'm sure.
This is nothing. Usually, folks, when me and this man talk, bro, we would go for hours.
This is true.
We would go for hours, and we just talk about anything and everything, bro. And it's kind of crazy because I would say like each topic that we bring up in the phone conversation at least is 45 minutes plus. So therefore, this right here, I mean, even though it's an amazing lore story that, you know, Mike has, you know, presented. Of course, from the talks that we have, it's kind of nothing, man. So it's kind of awesome. But in a way, thank you for being on this episode, man. You know, it's very humbling that you have decided that you want to come on and let people hear about the story. Yeah, it is humbling. I mean, come on, man. I mean, you would have better things to do. Like obviously you have a city to run, and you have to and then you have to make some proclamations, and not to mention you still have to go. You still have to make sure your stocks are in check. You got to go to team meetings and all that kind of stuff, man. So I mean. It's humbling because you're jumping on my humble podcast, man.
Oh my god! Oh my god, humbling. The city to run, man. I tell you, man, it's always something new gets added to the fold. Now I'm running a city. It's bad.
I didn't know it was new.
See, I can't win for losing. The
people have to know, Mike. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? The people better be glad that we weren't talking wrestling, because if we were talking wrestling,
oh my god, yep.
This show would definitely be a 5-parter taped in one day.
Easily, it would easily be a 5-parter. But oh my god! But like, once again, thank you so much, man, and being a part of this. I
appreciate it.
Sure. And you know, before we do that, where can people reach you for social?
Oh man, social wise. Oh, okay, man. I was about to give out my phone number here.
You about to give out whoa, hold on. You was about to give out. You about to give off the office phone number? Like,
man, I mean, you know, I turned off my burner phone, so.
Oh man.
I'm kidding. No. People can reach me various ways, right? Of course, Michael Beltran, Facebook. I'm on there. Right. Instagram, it's at 214 Mike B. Of course, 214 is the area code of Dallas. You know, I am Mr. Dallas in some ways.
Yes, he is.
And of course, the Twitters, the tweets, X. It's at Mike B __ 23. Yeah, I had to have that 23 when I first made that Twitter X account way back in the day. I just had to have the number 23, Michael Jordan, you know, so.
The GOAT. Yep.
Exactly.
Goats, you know, goats meeting goats, or goats on top of goats, where there you go. So, yeah. I mean, all his socials will be in the description of the video. Mm-hmm. And you can easily reach him out. You can easily reach Michael Beltran. All he has to do is just pencil you in on his calendar. That's basically it. So, just like tonight, Just like today, I was penciled in. So therefore, yes, I was.
You
lucky.
were not. Oh my god! Oh my god! I can't take all this foolery.
Oh my god!
Dang it! I can't take it. Penciled in.
Oh man! Oh man! Okay, well, folks, thank you so much for listening. Shout outs to Mike Beltran for being on the episode, and thank you again, Mike, for being on here, man. Your story has been awesome, and I know people will find this episode really, really like an eye-opener, because folks really did want to know about your origin story until how you went to tournaments and everything like that, and you gave a really good full description of what you had to do. So thank you again.
My pleasure. I appreciate it. Anytime.
Cool. So, all right, folks. This has been another episode of Megaman Legends. And tune in to the next episode. We shall see you later.